hard. It's hard for me. I'm hoping that I can kind of start with the junior high because they seem so much more receptive to trying new things. And it's so hard to get these high school kids to do something that they haven't done before. And I mean, I admit too that I haven't done a whole lot with writing and art because it just seems like that you don't have time to get that stuff in. And I'm just thinking that at this point, just getting the junior high more used to it, and then by the time they get to high school, it'll be so much easier to have them keep like an artist journal or have like bell work where they come in and there's a painting posted on the projector and they just jot down their ideas about the paintings or something like that would be a lot better.
Well, depending on the Common Core and when it actually happens, it might be more for them anyway, as far as when we really start testing.
I went to that workshop on Thursday with the Common Core and art, and it's just a fantastic workshop because they wrote that specifically for our teachers group because we asked them to do a Common Core in the English language arts with art, and it was our PDC group of our teachers went down, and I have a packet of activities she gave me and ways to tie art to the language part of it, to the writing, to the reading. A lot of just looking at text and figuring out, pictures and figuring out the figurative language you would use to describe that. Have some awesome activities, and she even made a point of saying, tell all of your teachers that this education center is not just for art teachers. If you as a science teacher want to know if there's ways that you could use anything in their collection to teach about science, they would come up with ways for you to use their collection to teach about science. And literature, there's so much down there that ties into literature. So it was great. And I do have some things I want to try, but little things.
Yeah.
Little baby steps.
Yeah. But that's kind of where it starts. It's hard to just throw it all out, at them when they're not expecting it.
Well, that goes both ways. It needs baby steps for the students, but also baby steps for the teachers who are starting to incorporate this stuff. Yeah.
When I do more support work than I do teaching work. But when I get a study guide from a history teacher and they give you like a word, maybe a name like Henry Ford. Well, he invented the assembly system and was one of the greatest car makers there were. Instead of having to write just assembly system and then or assembly line and car maker, I have them put that in sentences and describe it a little bit, and it sticks better in their minds. They hate it, but it really does help them on the test. And if I can give them some acronym that goes with something, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I do that also.
It's really good. I mean, just making connections in some way is always
But the
good.
sentences seem to help.
Well, you said they hate it. They hate it because they have to process that information more.
Yeah.
So.
They do, and they have to write it down, and they hate that writing process. Too bad you said.
I've, even just when we're taking notes in class, you have kids who want to sit back and not take notes, and I often tell my students the benefit of writing that notes down is it's getting your brain multiple ways, because your hand is making you do it, your eyes are seeing it, and then if you go back and read your notes out loud, you can hear it, you read it, it's getting in your brain those many ways. So just the act of making them write that down is much more beneficial.
They can soak it in by osmosis.
Yeah.
And you tell them, I'm the same way. If I write it once, sometimes just that writing it will stick in my brain because I'm visual anyway and I have to see it there.
Yeah.
And if I don't write, then I am more likely to wander off and think about other things. It keeps me focused.
When I write it, then when I'm thinking it in my mind, I'm seeing what I wrote because I'm just that visual person. I see it again the way I wrote it on the paper.
Just from the special ed kids I've had over the years, there's more visual kids than there are auditorial kids. And the auditorial kids are those kids that can't spell. So they can't read it back because it makes no sense. They may be able to read fluently, but they can't spell it. So when unless they're copying it, off of something, they can't write the notes, and then they can't read their own handwriting. They can't read their own notes. So they become auditorial learners. And I think that's a learned strategy that they've picked up on from kindergarten up, that they can survive in a classroom as long as they can hear it.